Welcome back to another episode of Let's Ride with Chris Harris Jr. I am Patrick Chiotti. I am, of course, joined by my magnificent co-host, Chris Harris Jr., former Denver Broncos Super Bowl 50 champion. Chris, good to see you as always. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing real good, man. Let's talk some ball, man.
Well,
Let's
the
get it going.
Broncos get their second win of the season. They do improve to 2-5. So sorry to the tank enthusiasts, the Caleb Williams enthusiasts, still in play. If the season was to end today, the Broncos would hold the 4th overall pick. I think Drake May would probably be the pick there, but there's still a lot of football left, Chris. This team could still finish 12-5. There's still hope. They just, they only have to win 10 more games in a row. Quick thoughts, quick reaction. How did you feel after that win? Did you feel a bit of relief? Did you feel stressed at the end of that game? What were your feelings, and how did you feel about the Broncos' performance?
Oh, you mean how you watch a Broncos game and not feel stressed, man? That's every game, it's good to see them pull out the tough, close games,
Yeah.
When we haven't been on the right side of the end of the stick in the last couple of years on those games. So it's definitely good to see them get that win at home. That was a desperate, gotta have it win. You can't take this many L's at home to start the season and think that you're going to be able to recover. That's very hard to do. It's hard to win on the road. And Broncos' schedule just gets harder, right? It doesn't get any easier. They have a nice little hard stretch with the Bills and the Chiefs. So these next couple games can really are the telltale of the season.
Yeah, the Chiefs, of course, the Week 8 matchup. We're going to be looking at that matchup in our Week 8 preview episode, which is recording tomorrow. Man, the Chiefs 2 times in 3 weeks, they come off of a huge win against the Chargers in a game where I kept going back and looking at that game, and I was like, are the Chargers really going to do this? But of course, in typical Chargers fashion, the game just slips away from them somewhere in the middle of the third quarter. Justin Herbert, he's balling out, man. He's doing literally everything that he can, but it is so hard to go up against the juggernaut that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Travis Kelce, another huge game. He's going to be a big focal point of our conversation in tomorrow's episode. But Chris, before we get into that, we do have a message from our sponsors. It was a Texas showdown in the postseason. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your baseball wagering info as we head in to the World Series with the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks going back to the World Series for the first time since 2001. This is huge for the Diamondbacks organization. But if you're looking to bet on the World Series, prop bets, straight up bets, whatever, BetOnline is your number one source for all your baseball wagering info with up to the minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals for the NFL, college football, and the World Series at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on statistics, news, and odds. We have everything you need to stay up to speed on the NFL, college football, all the way to the end of the World Series. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. And Chris, we are going to start our game recap episode looking at both the Broncos offense and the Broncos defense. Who did what right? Who needs to improve? First thing that jumped off in that game for me was the run attack of the Broncos. Highly criticized after the Kansas City loss. You're running the ball so well. Why don't you go to it more? It's one of the big things that we talked about in our reaction show on Bleacher Report. And this week against Green Bay, this last week, they ran the ball a lot more, and a lot better, honestly, than they did against Kansas City. It was very similar runs. Javonte is getting back to his full form. Jalil's ripping off big gains. Ryan is helping out with some really tough runs and helping out with catching out of the backfield. What stood out to you for the Broncos offense against the Packers?
Yeah, just seeing Javonte get his legs under him, let him get more confidence, starting to give him more carries and riding his back, But the only way you can do that is if you got to be able to be good on third down. If we can't convert and then find ways to get first downs, we don't have to get first downs on third downs, right? Let's get them on first, second down. Get them early, right? As long as we can do that, we can be able to run the ball more and be able to possess the ball more. So that's what we have to do. But I think a guy that jumped out for me was Courtland Sutton.
Yeah,
he was dominating. I felt like he was the best receiver out there. He played hard and he made plays. So he would be my guy that I would say that was went out there and balled. Made a statement. He made a statement that, hey, I want to be here. So I can see it through Courtland's play that he's showing that he wants to stay in Bronco.
Yeah, he really does want to be that guy in the offense. And you can kind of feel that Russell Wilson is trending that way. A lot. He's getting a lot of attention, a lot of targets, especially when they get down in the red zone. This is the second straight game that they've had a red zone touchdown drawn up specifically for Courtland Sutton. He gets that big catch, that one-handed grab against Kansas City. That was a huge turning point in that game for the Broncos offense. And then a really nice design play, the little pick route to get Courtland open in the end zone. Beautiful design by Sean Payton, beautiful execution by Russ and Courtland Sutton. I think that Sutton is trending to be the wide receiver one in Denver, with maybe a guy like Judy on the move as Marvin Mims starts to come up a little bit more and guys like Brandon Johnson get a little bit more involved.
When have we seen like a nice design play like that for a touchdown?
Oh, man, it's been a while. I'll tell you that. It feels like a lot of those red zone touchdowns have been like it's been like Russ is just making stuff up on the go. But,
nice so it's good. When you play in the league, you have to scheme up good plays.
Yeah.
Right. It's not that just Mahomes is such a great quarterback that, he's dicing everybody up. Look at the designs in the play calls in which Andy Reid is creating mismatches. He's creating ways to get his guys open in space.
Yep.
Right. He's creating ways to cause trouble, to cause confusion in the secondaries that they're facing. Right. You have to do that as a coach. Right. This is the professional football league, the NFL. Right. We can't just go out there and think you're going to beat everybody just running a go ball. Right. Yeah. That's not going to happen. Right. So it was good to see Sean Payton draw some new plays, find ways to get these guys open because we've been very vanilla. We got to get, you got to create some ways to be able to get these guys open.
Yeah. And that's a great point. We talked about that the last couple of weeks. The offense was getting too predictable. And I felt like this week was, as a play caller, you have your set plays and then we call them tendency breakers. The Green Bay game was a tendency breaker for Sean Payton in my eyes. He was doing a lot of stuff differently, running the ball on different downs. The screen game is still something that needs to improve. I will say I wish that they would kind of execute those screens a little bit better, but it is tough when you've got certain situations going on and then your play calling is gotten to the point where teams know when you're going to run those screens. So would like to see the screen game improve a little bit more, but I did feel like this game against Green Bay was a breath of fresh air for the offense. It was nice. There were still some misses from Russ, but I think that we could chalk this up
Coach Payton? Did you hear Coach Payton? He was like, man, I'm still mad about that boot, man. I wish we would have executed that boot. And that was the same thing I was saying, after the game. Like, that's a crucial – we need those we pay you, Russell, right? We pay you the quarterback, right, to close out games, right? That's when you make your money in the fourth quarter. Wouldn't you say? Quarterbacks make their money in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And it's second down. Coach drew up a great boot on the run to get you out the pocket. Just hit him in the chest, and that's game. We don't even have to see PJ Locke's interception, right? None of that happens, right? So, it's just it's the small things that I think Russ still has to improve. you
Yeah.
know, to get us over that next, to get us to that next level.
Yeah, and there was a situation. I believe they were down around the 10-yard line. It's goal to go, and they had a great concept drawn up. It's essentially levels with like a Y clear. It wasn't Y corner, but it was just like Y clear, right? So you've got trips to the left side. Cortland's out solo. They're showing man, and they actually had, I think it was Burton lined up kind of in a stack with Sutton, but they motioned him in to get that read. And so they're showing man, but the middle linebacker kind of shifted over to Cortland's side. So Court's running like a 7 or 8 yard in. The Y is just running a vertical stem to just try and clear out the linebacker and DB. Judy's got an in. Brandon Johnson's got an in. And Judy's
right
Judy's
there
wide
under
open.
the linebacker.
Wide open. Linebacker. The Mike sifted over to Cortland. You've got all this area, the DB giving him inside leverage. Russ hits the top of his drop, and what does he do? He gets out. He runs. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why
we got to talk about that too, man, because the tackles are struggling, right? But Russ doesn't help them all the time, right?
No.
He kind of makes it harder if you're really paying attention and you see how he escapes, right? He doesn't escape out and then come back in. Like Mahomes he'll act like he's running out and he'll come right back in the pocket, right? You know what I mean? He knows how to move the guys in the pocket to, you know, to be able to slow them down. And you don't see Russ's pocket presence. I would say it's not very good.
What have we been saying the last couple of weeks? What have we been saying the last couple of weeks? He looks uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But is that, and I was looking over that specific play, and I kept looking at the tackles, right? I wanted to see, you know, what happened with the pocket. Was it messy? Was it clean? So Bowles had his guy perfectly fine. Bowles, Powers, Cush, Miners, all taken care of. McGlinchey has his guy. He does get pushed back a little bit, but he's got enough of an anchor to where he still has room. Russ still has room to step up into the pocket and make that throw. And as soon as he gets to the back of his drop, McGlinchey gets pushed. And I think that was him. I think that was Russ seeing, oh no, there's an orange jersey right here. I gotta get out. But in reality, it's like, no, you're fine. Just step up into the pocket and make that throw. It's that mental side of how comfortable am I? Am I about to get hit because my right tackle has been getting pushed to his ass the last 6 games? Probably. But, you know, you still have to trust yourself. And a lot of those big quarterbacks, Mahomes, Burrow, you know, those
they're
guys
making that throw.
They stand in the pocket and they make that throw. They'll step up. And Russ just does not look comfortable enough to do that right now. But 194 for Russ, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, and had that big 21-yard run at the end of the second quarter. That was huge to set them up for a field goal. Let's go over winners and losers, Chris. And we did this after the game. You know, our first winner of this game was Javonte Williams because he had such a big game. 18 total touches for him. I know your goal was 20. Talk a little bit more about Javonte's performance and why you consider him to be a winner in this game.
Well, I mean, it just seems like he only gets positive yards, right? You don't see this guy get a lot of negative yards, or if he does, he can make one. If it's one guy that, you know, gets through the hole, he can usually make that guy miss and try to get more positive. So I'm starting to see him get more healthy, get that bounce in his legs, you know, and you know, that little spring you start to see, and that's good to see, you know. And he's a break tackler. He's a guy that makes guys miss. He breaks tackles. He's hard to bring down, and that's part of his game, right? That's part of his game. So it's good to start to see him get that confidence, and he would have more touches, right, if we was able to, you know, close the game out right. And maybe he has 100 yards total, you know, receiving and rushing. So that should be his goal every week to get 100 yards receiving and rushing. And I think he's capable of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, if that throw from Russ was a couple inches higher, I mean,
don't tell him. He might break a tackle, hit the sideline, get about 20. You never know.
Exactly.
You know,
He runs so hard, and that's part
Yeah,
of what I love so much about his game is he's considered to be one of those traditional like smash mouth power backs, but man, he's the type of back that if you give him that crease, he just explodes out of that hole. I mean,
yeah,
it's like he's not like the, Derrick Henry is not the right example because that guy is as powerful a
yeah.
runner
You
as
can't
possibly
compare
could
to
be.
no anybody that
But like,
King Henry.
those like the typical bigger backs, like once they hit that hole, it's like they kind of just stay at the same speed. Javonte
Yeah,
just once he gets out into the open field, he puts that foot in the dirt and he is gone. And it's so nice to see that he's back. He's trusting his legs more. And in pass pro,
yeah.
his contribution cannot be understated there. Let's go over to our second winner. I kind of had this one. Baron Browning back. Uh,
Oh yeah,
Baron Browning back. Jonathan Cooper had a good game. Nick Bonito had a good game. That defensive front, let's just call it the pass rush. They had a fantastic game. The run defense, still
yeah.
not that great. But what did you see from those guys up front that made you feel a little
Yeah.
bit better going into this second matchup with the Chiefs?
Oh man, we just added. Now we have some more depth. Being able to add Baron back, and you can see
Yeah.
his speed. He brings a different type of speed. He has a different type of. He has that dip, right? That makes it
Yeah.
kind of hard for tackles to be able to reach down. He can kind of. I'm not saying he's not like Vaughn.
Yeah.
Because Vaughn
Vaughn's
comes out that
otherworldly
dip
dip.
so like explosive, but he can
Mhm.
get low like him.
Yeah.
Right, he has the flexibility to be able to do that. So I think he's just going to continue to get better, and that's a
Yeah.
huge. That's a huge pickup to a defense.
Yeah.
When you don't have that type of speed and really that jumps out the screen for you off the edge.
Yeah.
Benito and them is playing solid, but they're not coming off the edge as fast as this
No.
kid is.
And
So to be
powerful
able,
too.
yeah. So to be able to bring that's like bringing another blue chip player back. So you
Yeah.
expect them to continue to play better. Also to change at corner.
Yeah.
I was thinking in the game, I'm like, man, Mathis is balling because I have not heard his name.
Exactly.
And then I start to see Monroe start to make some plays. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, they replaced him. So
Yeah.
I think that was a nice change, and hopefully he can be consistent because every week is you're still gonna have to ball out opposite Surtain, right? So
Yeah.
hopefully he can continue to play good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big change for the secondary. We'll talk a little bit more about the secondary here in a minute. I want to get
Yeah.
your thoughts on some things, but our last winner for the Green Bay game, kicker Will Lutz. We don't
Oh
have
yeah.
kickers as winners too often, but man, 4 for 4, huge day for him. This trade is looking better and better by the day, especially with the Rams releasing Brett Maher. Trade a 7th round pick for a guy who's been a consistent kicker throughout his whole career, and then he wins you a game. So I'll take that as a big win.
Oh man, the Saints they're regretting getting rid of Will for sure because they're having kicking trouble too, right?
I'm pick the kid. He's got a good
Yeah.
preseason. We'll take a 7th round pick for Will Lutz in the
Different
season.
when the lights are on in the real action.
Yep.
It's different.
Exactly. But Chris, there was a big moment in this game that was really a tide changer, honestly, for the Broncos defense. I can't remember which quarter it was, but Kareem Jackson came screaming down and absolutely leveled rookie tight end Luke Musgrave. The call, the hit was
I think it was the
flagged.
end of the third. I think it was the end of the third quarter.
Somewhere in the third. Because they're going that way. Flag, obviously, and then they ejected Kareem out of the game and then suspended him for 4 games, which has since been cut down to 2 games. So he will miss this next game against Kansas City and the game against Buffalo. Chris, what did you think about the hit? Did you think that it was warranted of a flag? They called it for unnecessary roughness on a defenseless receiver. So Did you agree with the call? Did you agree with the suspension? Did you agree with the ejection? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it would look like a clean, great hit. One that sets the tone.
Sure did to me.
Right. And that's the type of football I grew up in, right? This defensive rule is just crazy, quarterbacks defenseless, receivers are defenseless, but DBs, we're never defenseless. We're just, just get the flag, holding PI and what is that? What's another one they call? What's the contact touching. One they call? Illegal touching. Illegal contact, right. You just got so many rules. Right. We pick the ball and our feet touch the ground first, and they still give it to the offense. Right. That's just how it is. So Kareem, man, it's just he's the poster boy, right, of the league. Right. When they show every year, this is not how you want to tackle. Right. They give the whole PowerPoint, the presentation. It's like a movie, Kareem's all over that. Right. Sent to the whole league, he's front and center of that. So that's something that they gotta he's gonna have to change the way he tackles, just knowing that he has a target on him. I think he's fined almost every week now. And now they're taking, I think they said it's gotta be almost $500K, of what they're probably taking, pretty close, it's a lot of money. So he has to change the way he tackles, man. If you want to play in this league, right? You gotta adjust with the times. It's just how it is, right? I can't go out there and play corner the same way Champ and them could play in the early, in the early 2000s, or the way
or Darrell.
Revis. Well, Revis was I would say he was in my era a little bit, probably at the beginning of his era, but or like all these old DBs, you know what I mean? We can't be physical like them on the line and ride these guys down the field. We have to adjust with the times. And that's what Kareem has to do to be able. If you want to continue to play 14 years, man, you gotta, you gotta adjust with the play.
I mean, I saw your tweet and I absolutely loved it. You said that you and Darian Stewart, Akeem, and TJ Ward were out there hitting people like that every week, and nothing was being done. I mean, Kareem Jackson had a similar hit on his old teammate DeAndre Hopkins a couple seasons ago. Same thing. No flag on that one. What's the difference? I don't understand. And the league needs to be a lot more clear on what they describe a defenseless receiver as, because I'm in the Seattle was playing, I think Atlanta, or they were in the Seattle game this last weekend. Devin Witherspoon had a huge hit on a receiver, literally just caught the ball. Hadn't even really turned yet. Didn't even have his eyes upfield. Witherspoon lowers his head, hits him with his shoulder. Oh, it's a big hit. No flag, no suspension. Like, where's the consistency? But you said it. Kareem has a target on his back, and that's the toughest part. He's going to hit like this. He's pound for pound the heaviest hitter in the National Football League. He's 5'10", 5'11", 180 pounds. Luke Musgrave is like 6'4", 240. What do you want him to do in that situation? He's coming downhill. Do you want him to just do we just want to touch him with our hands and then let him break the tackle? What do you want him to do in that scenario? What else could he do?
Yeah.
He lowered his shoulder.
I guess they want to just fall on him. I guess just hug him. I guess hug him in the air.
Superman at him at that point.
I guess what they, chest tackle him. I guess. I don't know. We don't know. We don't know how they want us to touch him.
He's defenseless. That's 15. Chris, moving on. There was a question. We're talking about changing of defensive plays and stuff like that. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Nick Kendall, good friend, asked me a question. We were talking this morning about Iowa DB Cooper DeJean. But anyways, he said that he is going to be probably one of the better slot prospects in this upcoming draft. And he asked me to ask you, how do you think the game of football has revolutionized at the slot position? Because now we used to have guys like Wes Welker and Julian Edelman in that slot, the short, quick guys. And now it seems like we're having a lot more tight end, big body type receivers in the slot. So for you, how do you see the slot game as evolutionizing throughout the game of football.
Yeah, well, early in my career, you see a lot of teams run a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of two back tight ends, running back, or they'll run 21, have the fullback and one tight end, two receivers. So not now a lot of teams are getting out of that, right? It's more college ball. It's more 3 receiver
11.
sets. You usually have your third receiver now is a starter in the NFL, right? So the game has changed. And it's more wide open. And I had just been in that era where it was evolving into that, right? Where it was going to be 3 receivers at all times, right? Brady always had 3 wideouts, right? Or made it look like 11 personnel, right? With Hernandez or Gronk, you know what I mean? The same way kind of how the Chiefs do, right? They'll make Kelsey will be out there. Sometimes they'll be in 12. But it'll look like 11 because they'll make Kelsey look like a receiver, right?
He's out wide.
So, being a nickel, you have to be able to guard everybody because everybody's bringing their best receivers in there because they know that they can go in there and run some option routes. They can be able to find a way to be able to, get more space to be able to run more routes. You're limited when you're just staying outside as a receiver, right? You don't have the routes that you can run all in the slot. You can run every route in the book in the slot. So that's what makes it hard as a nickel. You got to be able to play multiple coverages, right? Yes, you have to be good in zone. You got to be good in man. You got to be able to be good in match coverages. You got to be able to tackle, play the run. So you got to be a complete player to play the nickel. And usually, if you're not complete, they're able to find that out really fast. And also blitz. Right, you got to be a hell of a blitzer.
Part of it,
right?
Big part of it, and the run fit. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about it. The run fits. Got to be good with your run fits. Got to be good off the edge, and if you're the edge setter as a nickel, I mean, that's a big responsibility as well. Can't let anything get outside you. It's you. The game has changed so much. I mean, ever since I first started watching this game, it's definitely changed drastically. I still have my copy of NFL 2K5 on the Xbox, and there is there's about 4 spread formations that you can choose from, but there's a whole lot of 2 back, 2 tight end, run heavy, play action. It's all the game has just absolutely changed, and it's crazy to see, and kind of excited to see where it goes. But I hope they relax on some of these definitions and some of these hits, because I grew up watching guys like John Lynch. I grew up watching guys like Brian Urlacher. At the end of Steve Atwater, like those guys would not be able to play in today's NFL.
Ray Lewis, he wouldn't be able to make it.
Ed Reed,
wouldn't be able to make it. Palomalu wouldn't be able to play.
Vontaze would have been kicked out of the league day one. They would
that whole generation before I came in the league. Those guys. I came in with some dogs, right? Yeah. I was lucky to find they come in that end of the era of the Dawkins, the Ray Lewis, Ed, Troy, James Harrison, Woodley. I remember playing the Steelers and just walking on the field and just seeing how big, their D-line and linebackers were and be like, okay, this is the NFL, right? Yeah. These are grown men, dogs, you know what I mean, up front.
Yep.
Like, they're not hitting like Patrick Willis and those guys. Chancellor would not been able to play in the NFL right now. There's no Legion of Boom, right? There's no Legion of Boom in today's game, right? All these guys that you love because of the way they hit and strike on the field, that's done, right? That's done. You're not going to have that anymore.
Gone.
Yeah, Whitner. The Niners used to knock people out. Yeah. Seattle knocked people out. And then they know when they had to pull up to the AFC and they had to come to the Mile High and come deal with us. We was smacking too. So it wasn't just, I remember one game we was hitting Andrew Luck so many times. Dude had his whole insides was bruised up, right? You can't hit like that anymore, right? The game has completely changed, and it's sad to see, them taking that element out. But it's a new era.
Yeah, it is. Chris, we're gonna end this show with a new segment Every week, we are going to be picking one defensive play that you will have as your strap play of the week. And this week, we got a pretty good one. This is the end of the game. This is the PJ Locke interception. Walk us through this play. We'll start with the wide frame, and you can kind of give the viewers and the listeners a little look as to what you're seeing pre-snap from the Broncos defense.
Pre-snap right here, I can tell they're in some sort of two-shell defense, right? And if you see this top corner up top, if he goes down, then I understand that they're probably in a cover 8 or a cover 6, where they would play cover 2 to one side and play quarters opposite. When you have a 3-by-1 like this, typically in Coach Joseph's system, he would lock Surtain on that backside receiver, that one receiver right there. And he would tell them to, if he goes shallow, to let that go. And then Surtain would be able. I'm sorry, could you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he would be able to replace Justin and go back deep. But in this time, Surtain has a deeper out route, which we'll see. So it knocks him out. He's locked on. He's gone. So Justin's free to really go do what he wants, you know. But one thing that – keep going. You see, now they have that tight end at the 3, right? It's a trips. Yeah. So Justin would be his read because they would call it tricks. So that safety PJ Locke would be deeper, and he would be more to that right side because they are in the tricks. So let's see what they do. Oh, what was your question?
No, so for those who don't know the coverages, and like you say cover 8, I feel like a lot of football fans know like the basic ones, right? They know cover 1, they know cover 2, cover 3. They know what cover 4 is, but they don't know the exact rules behind cover 4. So when we say cover 8, this is cover 2 on play side. So this is the strength side because the tight end's over here. So we're going to have cover 2. So this guy's got this, lower flat area. It's kind of like a cover 2 sink almost, because he's deep. It's not like your traditional cover 2 where he's going to be sitting down here in this flat and just taking care of this. This guy's going to have a sink. This guy's going to have a sink. And then this guy's got second half, or the half of the field over here. Quarters on this side. That means this is quarter of the field, and then we're kind of hitting the hook right here with this defender. So essentially in quarters, if it was a balanced look, if we had 2-by-2, not 3-by-1, this would be 1-on-1, 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 1-on-1. But because we're unbalanced here, we've got
the linebackers would have the 10-yard outs.
Right.
They would have the inside outs or anything shallow.
Hook, hook to flat, hook to curl, whatever their specific scheme is. But generally, when we say cover 4, that is 4 deep, it's quarters, but you are matched up with that man. If he's running vertical and he stops, you're staying with him. And that's what we're going to see here. So let's take a look at what happens.
Let me show you something right here. I'm looking at their formation, and pause it real quick. I want you to see if you can go back. Because it's giving you the route before. Anytime that I would see, you see how I'll go back? Will it let you? Let's teach the audience some football real quick.
Oh, we went too far. Okay.
Let's teach them. Let's show them how you can go get a pick.
Oh, he acting like he's hurt.
Okay, right here. Yeah, you see the Packers? We would call this formation a flood.
Okay.
Right? So they have 4 on one side. So this backside backer would take the first thing that would come back to him. So the nickel or the middle backer would pass anything that crosses his face. The first one he has to let go.
Pass it off.
Right? He had to pass that off. But do you see the top receiver up there?
Right here?
How he's off the ball?
Yep.
That's dagger all day. Whenever you see that formation in the league, you see that one
Yep.
all the way back and the number 2 on the ball. He's just clearing out. We call that running for the love of the game.
Vertical.
And he's clearing it out for this dagger right here. So if he's in cover 4, he's looking for the dagger. But since they're playing cover 2 to that side, the nickel's dropping straight back. Love knows he can't throw that, so he has to force it up to the backside. And he doesn't want to take the number 1 receiver to the bottom because Surtain's locked up on a one-on-one over here, and he doesn't like that matchup. So this is a great call by Coach Joseph, and that's how you go get a pick right there, audience, right there.
So PJ Locke, for those who couldn't see the wide view, PJ Locke is right here. I mean, he's outside the hash, and he's kind of floating in between, closer to the numbers, right? So he sees Love start to wind up, and he just starts dashing over because he knows we've got vertical coming. So
they're taught to be able to cover when you're playing a half like that, right? You should supposed to be able to cover from that numbers to that numbers in the league. If you can't do that in the league, then it's hard for you to be a Pro Bowler or All Pro, right? You see how he covered the numbers.
Just a beautiful. And let's show them where the dagger is, because this is an interesting way to run dagger. They kind of run it with this Y sit in the middle of the field. He's going to angle in, and here's the dagger right here. It's late, and he doesn't really cross over. They're trying to get it more vertical. It almost looks like double post, from one. But man, what a play by PJ Locke to just.
That was an excellent play. That's a Pro Bowl play.
So much ground.
Right? They expect Pro Bowlers to get from numbers to numbers as a safety. So if you not a lot of guys can make that play. So that was a great play by him.
Let's look at the tight really quick. So we've got Allen on the nose, Barron's out here, Cooper inside, and Benito. This is a fun look. Wish they would have gotten off of that block a little bit better. Benito's got to stay outside there. Barron's got to take a little bit more of an outside. But man, what a play by PJ Locke.
It was a great play.
Incredible. That is the strap play of the week. And that is actually going to do it for this episode of Let's Ride with Chris Harris Jr. Our next episode, tomorrow's episode, this is going to be a banger. We've got our week 8 preview, Kansas City game, second time in 3 weeks, but we have former Denver Bronco Eric Decker, your former teammate, joining the show to come talk about playing with the Broncos, life after the Broncos, life after football, life as a dad, a husband. He's got a bunch of information for us. So that is going to do it for this episode. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter at Chris Harris Jr., at Patrick Coyote, at Believe Network. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Let's Ride with Chris Harris Jr. And make sure that you subscribe to this podcast on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Until next time, Broncos country, let's ride.